FC-5 is a special mix. It requires different practices and requirements than other friction coarse mixes and dense graded mixes. Asphalt producers and asphalt pavers seem to battle three common issues when working with this mix: segregation, drain down, and snot balls. FC-5 can be prone to segregation because of the nature of the mix. It is a 3 aggregate mixture containing 2 coarse aggregates and 1 fine aggregate, which can be easily segregated during all aspects of production, loading and placement, as well as during testing for the process control and quality control. There are very few fines in the mix, and the aggregates can easily come apart. If segregation is suspected, it's best practice to work backwards from the source of segregation to determine its cause. For purposes of this video, we will start at the mat. An accurate spread rate is imperative to prevent segregation. Using a material transfer vehicle is best practice when paving with FC-5. The hopper insert must always be full and must be cleaned with no buildup. Using a material transfer vehicle also helps to keep the mix homogeneous during paving and eliminates the chance of the trucks bumping the paver during production, which will affect the smoothness of the mat. The flow gates must be set at the right height in order to squeeze the mix. The flow gates and slack conveyor speed will control the amount of material going into the auger. There is a fine line between starving the auger of material or overfeeding it. Make sure the height of the flow gates and the speed of the conveyor work together to achieve the proper rate of material feed to the auger. Make sure you don't have a bad screed. If it is worn, it will drag on the mat. Visual appearance and smoothness of the mat are 2 field checks for FC-5. If everything looks good at the roadway, continue working backwards, back to the plant, starting with the loadout. Apply a release agent to the truck bed immediately before loadout. Expert tip: apply powdered laundry detergent lightly to the truck bed prior to adding the release agent. This helps reduce the likelihood of the FC-5 building up on the bottom of the truck during transit. Note that only a small amount of powdered soap is required. Check the loadout process. Are the trucks loading properly? Implement a 3-drop minimum when loading the trucks: front, back, middle. It is also important to adjust your silo batchers for a maximum size batch with very little time, or better yet, no time, between cycles. This reduces the opportunity for segregation in charging the silo. Production rate is critical when running FC-5. Do not run the plant any faster than 200 tons per hour. What is the speed of your drag conveyors leading into the silos? These conveyors are designed to run at a higher production rate capability than the drums, so make sure the speed is relative to the dryers. Slow the belt speed, if possible, as to not throw the mix to the far side of the batcher or chute. Throwing the mix will separate the large aggregate from the fine aggregate, causing segregation at the transfer point. The density of FC-5 is less than other mixes, so the mix can exceed the height of the slats in the conveyor. Slow down the plant so you don't exceed the height of the slats, which can cause the mix to segregate in the slat as the mix rolls back over the top of the slat. Sample the mix after the mixing drum on its way to the silos. Dump the material out of the drop gate or cutoff chute. Position the loader up high, then take a sample like you would from a truck. Check the AC content and the gradation to compare with the truck-loaded mix. Segregation can also occur in the drum. Buildup can create a dam between the flights, and the mix can segregate as it pushes up and over the lip. Even a 2-inch high dam between the mixing flights should be suspect. Best practice is to check your drum weekly to avoid buildup from occurring. Remember, the density of FC-5 is less than other mixes, so the mix can exceed the height of the mixing flights, just like in a slack conveyor. If this happens, slow down your production rate. When checking your equipment, make sure the AC pump at the plant is calibrated, along with the belt scale on your virgin belt and cold feed bins. To make sure the plant is properly rationing the aggregates prior to the drying drum, take a belt cut. Stop the plant while running, take a section of the aggregate off the belt, and see if the gradation matches the JMF as it is being sent to the drum. You can also check the scalping screen for holes, which can cause oversized stones in the mix. In most cases, more than 70% of a single-size coarse aggregate will be used in producing the FC-5 mixture. Best practice is to proportion this aggregate through multiple cold feed bins to reduce the chances of segregation. If everything looks good at this point, check your stockpiles. When stacking, use a loader blend method or hoe blend method. Take note where your loader is pulling from during production and make sure to sample this area. While it is recommended to test the gradation of your stockpiles every 1,000 tons, we recommend testing daily. Since a greater proportion of the mix is composed of large aggregates, you must test often to ensure the gradations of that stone are closely representative of the gradations in the original design. Another common issue when producing and paving with FC-5 is drain down. Drain down is the liquid asphalt running off the surface of the aggregate to the bottom of the silo or truck. The fibers added to the mix are there to reduce this tendency. Drain down can affect the AC content in the mix even when the gradation is correct. You can notice drain down at the roadway if you come across fat spots or puddles. This is where the binder continued to build up on the equipment, then was suddenly all released where it dripped onto the mat. Increasing the temperature of FC-5 mixes promotes drain down. Determine the optimal temperature, low enough to effectively dry the aggregate and save money and fuel, but high enough to promote coating and workability in the field. Do not run FC-5 above 335 degrees Fahrenheit or below 315 degrees Fahrenheit. Running above 335 degrees increases the likelihood of drain down occurring. Remember, there are no density requirements for FC-5, so the paving crew rolls to simply seat the material. Other ways to avoid drain down are to not leave the FC-5 in the silo for long periods of time. Per the Florida specification, FC-5 cannot sit in the silo for more than 1 hour or 1.5 hours if using cellulose fibers. Do not let the truck stack up in front of the paver, sitting for long periods of time. Drain down can occur in the truck. Also, ensure proper AC percentages and fiber ratios. No one wants to see snot balls in the mix. FC-5 can be prone to these gobs of fiber that have separated from the binder. Snot balls can come from the type of fiber used, a malfunctioning fiber machine, or moisture in the fiber. In our experience, we have found cellulose fibers perform the best. Mixes with cellulose fibers appear to have less gradation and AC variability, and since contractors are paid based on the gradation and AC content with FC-5 mixes, this is extremely important. Also, buildup in the truck beds is less with cellulose fibers. Overall, FC-5 can be susceptible to these common issues because of the nature of the mix. Whether you are at the plant or on the roadway, avoid starting and stopping the operation as much as possible. Make it, load it, ship it, place it, roll it, all in a steady, continuous fashion. By implementing the advice in this video, you can experience more success and less issues during your FC-5 operation. For more information or additional advice, contact us at 904-503-5100 or visit our website at www.asphalttesting.info.